This elk hunt takes place in the West Kootenays of British Columbia, Canada, just up from the border of Idaho, not very far. It's in the Selkirk Mountains and the Purcell Mountains, which are just west of the Rocky Mountains. And it's actually beautiful elk country. So where I grew up was called the Lardo Valley. Elk was the trophy. That is what everybody really, really wanted. You see, in this area, there wasn't actually any elk. And there was just, it was white-tailed deer and mule deer. We had a good population of deer, but we really had no elk, no moose in the area. So in 1948, where they brought a rail car filled with elk up and introduced them into the area. There was no roads or anything. There was just a railroad and then paddle wheelers along the rivers and lakes, and railroads whenever it wasn't too mountainous. It's the only way they could get around in the area. So in any case, 1948, they brought up a whole rail car full of elk and let them go at the head of the lake. So now we've got elk in the area, and they did pretty well. So that's why everyone was so excited to get an elk. And believe it or not, when I was a kid, we'd rarely ever seen a moose, although there is some more moose in the area now, but they hadn't really moved into that area. Elk hunters we were. If you've seen a white-tailed deer, that's awesome. If you had a chance to climb up into the alpine and get yourself a big muley, that's even better. But what we really wanted was elk. Every man in my hometown there was after elk and was after the how would you put it? The accolades, the reputation that you would get for being a good elk hunter. Any case, so this is back in 1987. And I'm 17 years old. I've been hunting since I was 13, legally, like with my licenses and everything. And I had a dad that was really into hunting. I had uncles that were really into hunting. And this was before, 1987. So it's before any kind of YouTube or internet or anything like that, right? So I would pick my dad's brain. I would pick my uncle's brains on how to hunt, where to hunt, what to do. If we ever went into town, I seen a hunting magazine, I'd buy it, I'd read it from cover to cover. As I just wanted this so bad I could taste it. I had gotten a black bear, and I'd spent a lot of time hunting white-tailed deer to no avail. And this is where I was really trying to learn what I could possibly be doing wrong. I was sitting on trails where they crossed the creek or where I seen that there was action, and I don't know what it was. I think it was my inexperience coupled with some bad luck, if that exists. I hadn't gotten a deer, and it had been a few years. I was getting some discouraged, let me tell you. My reputation as a great hunter was not climbing or exceeding at all, and I was pretty discouraged. Which brings me along to about 17 years old. Okay, well, I'd been hunting hard and heavy, but now I had a girlfriend, and, hunting wasn't as important to me anymore. I'd rather be out with my friends or rather be out hunting girls. It was more my concern at that time. But in any case, I was still hunting. We lived on a beautiful piece of land. It was about 80 acres of field, and then it was forested by about another 20, 30 acres of forest in behind that. There was a neighboring property then, which would have been at least another 100 acres of some really good bush cover and some beaver channels and dams and just some really great land, great space for elk and deer to hide out in. So I really had it made right at home, and our home was there, and so was our business. My dad had a sawmill, which he hired about 6 to 8 guys usually to run this sawmill. And that's what I did as well. It was great. I got to work on the weekends or times that I wasn't in school in the sawmill helping or cleaning up. That's a whole nother story to itself. One day I hear first thing in the morning, I'm just waking up, and all of a sudden I hear outside, boom! A rifle goes off. What the heck? A big hunting rifle going off here in hunting season right on my own place? And I get dressed and I run outside, and well, sure enough, there's my uncle who worked for us in the sawmill, worked for my dad. And there's my uncle, a big grin on his face and a nice bull elk down right in our field. Well, he'd come to work that morning, and sure enough, there's an elk standing there. He said he had his rifle on him. We all carried our rifles on us all the time. Of course, it's hunting season. Got to be ready. So he gets there. There's an elk standing out in the middle of the field. Nice bull elk, 5-foot. He looks at the house. Not a light on. He knows, he says, if I go to the house, this is what he told me anyways, if I go to the house and try to wake you up, because he knew how badly I wanted that elk, because this was the same uncle that I'd been pestering and him to take me out and to give me all his knowledge and where I could go and what I could do, how to do calls and everything else. Well, he said he looked at the house, no smoke from the chimney, not a light on, and he figured if he went all the way there and woke me up and got me out and did it, the elk would be long gone by then. Opportunity knocks. He's going to accept. So he shot that elk right there, and I tell you, I was not happy for him. I wish I could say that I would have been more mature at the time, but I was not happy for him. I said, "That's my bull," and he was pretty sorry about it. He said, "Spence, I'm sorry. I know it's right here on your property, and I'm sorry I took your bull." I said, "It's okay, Uncle Perry. I've been taking your bull for years." Anyways, so there I was. Now I'm just about ready to give up. I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to get my elk. He's shot here now on our property. Anything around is going to be spooked off and the smell of blood and everything else. So I'm never gonna see nothing. But as discouraged as I went out trying a couple of times, and sure enough, there was nothing around. I pretty much had put it out of my mind when one morning I came out of the house. And believe it or not, there once again was a herd of elk in our field. And I think it was 6 cows and 1 bull right at the very back end of the field. And I couldn't believe my luck, but that's got to be from where I was there, a good 400 yards away. So, okay, I'm excited. I tell Dad, I'm going out, there's an elk out there. And I get my rifle. It's a 7mm Remington Magnum. Savage with a 3-9 Leopold scope on it. Nice rifle. I ended up taking a lot of game with that rifle. It was my dad's. He gave it to me. And I ended up passing it on to my son yet too. So that's kind of a cool thing. Anyways, got that 7, grabbed my shells, and out the door I went. And I could make it, nice and easy. There was lots of cover where I could get in behind things. In fact, we were on a sawmill, so there was piles of logs up in the way, eh? So I snuck around to get one of those piles of logs so the elk can't see me, and I got up and I got actually wrangled right up on top of one, so I got the perfect rest. But it's a little bit of a distance yet, eh? It's about 300 yards. And I know to some people they say, well, that's no problem. They're not worried about that at all. But I sighted in at 100 yards. I practiced at 100 yards. 300 yards, 3 times the distance, even on a 9-power scope, was looking pretty far away. By the time I got up there, popped my head over and was looking through that scope, well, guess what? 3 cows, no bull. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did he go? Well, sure enough, I had my bugle, which was one of those tubes in the reed that you put in your mouth. This is 1987, and maybe they were invented long before that, but we had just found out about them. And this was a real novelty thing that we'd all been practicing and trying, so in went the... I give them a little bit of a bugle, eh? And all 3 of those cows just look at me like that. And sure enough, out of the bush from behind them, right close, comes roaring out this 5-point bull elk. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I can see tines, even at 300 yards, I can see tines all over on this guy. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a big, beautiful elk. Any bull elk was in season. And so I was happy as can be. And as far as I could tell, I thought, that thing's a monster. That's a 6-7 point, great big giant bull elk. This is it. I'm going to slay the one right here, right now, and become famous. Well, it wasn't a hard shot. I took my time and I had the perfect rest. And I was smart enough to breathe. Just breathe. Breathe. Take your time. But I didn't have all the time in the world because this bull elk came out. And he was very concerned. It was my bugle made him come out because his cows were out there. He had 3 cows with him. So he was just leaving, but 3 cows lagged behind. And when I made the call, he came running out. He took a look around, and then he started herding, actually walking around and pushing those cow elk back towards the bush. As he's leaving, just before he's a bush, I give another little bit of a bugle. He stops and takes another look, and now's my chance. Boom! I hammered him. Right, perfect shot. It was, with that 7mm, I was probably shooting like at 300 yards, only 4 or 5 inches low, and I had aimed dead center, hit him just nice and low through the chest, and he didn't even make it to the bush line before he was down. Woo-hoo! I couldn't believe my luck. I was so excited. I knew enough to stay still, stay calm, stay there. You don't want to go running right up, right? Because they're all freaked out, excited, and run up to your elk. This has happened to people before. And then, the thing wasn't that wounded. It just laid down. Now it jumps up and runs away, and you got to track it through the bush for miles before you can ever find it. And I'd been in on tracking with my uncle and my dad before, and I knew I didn't want that to happen. Took my time, waited a good 10, 15 minutes for him to bleed out there, and that's exactly what he did. I'd taken him through the heart, and probably in 2 minutes he was gone. But after he walked a few paces, laid down, I waited my 10 minutes, and then approached him. 200 yards away, I could see those big tines sticking out. Yeah, 150 yards away, 100 yards away, I could see those giant antlers. And from there, every step, those antlers just kept looking smaller. In all my excitement, of course, I did see, I thought maybe it was a 6-point. It was a 5-point, in fact, and it wasn't large. It was the smallest 5-point I ever seen. But I guess seeing all of those tines sticking out, made me think that it was a lot bigger than it was. And the excitement of it all really got to me. And it was not the trophy that I thought it was. But heck, it was my first elk. It was a 5-point. It was still a trophy. Guess who pulled up in the yard right after that, just after I was there? But my uncle, who had shot the elk the week before. And he came out and congratulated me. And of course, he felt so good and so happy for me. I tell you, the elk that he had taken the week before, he felt really bad about it. He really wanted me to get one too, and I found that with older people, and I try to be like that myself, to bring up the younger hunters along, and you're with them, and who's going to shoot? Well, we let the younger guy shoot. Let him take that elk. Let him not just tag, and get that experience and get that pride. Puff up the chest. Yeah, I got myself an elk this year, 5-pointer. Dang, it was good eating too. My mom was a fabulous cook. We butchered that whole thing up. Hey, we're right on the property. So we just drove the tractor out there, and I was able to string it up, and we butchered it right there. My dad helped me. He had a grin from ear to ear. Proud of me he was. All right, and so was my uncle. So the whole family event, and yeah, I tell you, I stood about 2 inches taller that day. Thanks for watching.